And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads.
Under the crest of their prophet Mohammed, the Saracens, or Arabs, tormented Rome. But now it is 632 AD, Mohammed is dead. He was succeeded in command by his father-in-law, Abu Bakr, also known as Abu Bakr. No soon had Abu Bakr assumed power, he issued a decree. The decree reads as thus: when you fight the battles of the Lord, acquit yourselves like men, without turning your backs, but let not your victory be stained with the blood of women and children. Destroy no palm trees, nor burn any fields of corn. Cut down no fruit trees, nor do any mischief to cattle, only such as you kill to eat. When you make any covenant or article, stand to it, and be as good as your word. As you go on, you will find some religious persons who live retired in monasteries, and propose to themselves to serve God that way. Let them alone, and neither kill them nor destroy their monasteries. And you will find another sort of people that belong to the synagogue of Satan, who have shaven crowns. Be sure you cleave their skulls, and give them no quarter till they either turn Mohammedans or pay tribute. Note that Revelation chapter 9 verse 4 states that the locusts, the Saracens, Arabs, were commanded not to hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree. And indeed, Abu Bakr decree plainly states that the warriors should not destroy any palm trees, nor burn any fields of corn. They should not cut down any fruit trees. The Arab warriors were also commanded not to kill women and children nor be cruel to cattle, killing only as needed for food. Abu Bakr commanded that some religious folk living in monasteries be spared. Their monasteries were also to be left alone. Verse 4 states that the command was given not to spare those who did not have the seal of God. What is the seal of God? Recall, the Sabbath was instituted by God on day 7 of the creation week, after God made Adam and Eve, Genesis 2 verse 1-3. The Sabbath was made for man, that is, all human beings, Mark 2 verse 27. The holy Sabbath day, a memorial of God's creation, is his seal. Only the Sabbath commandment, the fourth of the 10 commandments, contains an official seal and gives authority to the 10 commandment law. The fourth or Sabbath commandment gives the name and title of God, the Lord thy God. It also shows God's right to direct the obedience of the human race. He is the creator of heaven and earth. God fills the earth with life. Intelligent observers of the Sabbath of the Lord lived in some of the monasteries of the Catholic Church. Abu Bakr commanded the Arabs to spare the lives of the Sabbath keepers and their monasteries. But note, there is another set of monks who incurred Abu Bakr's wrath. As stated before, they did not have the seal of God. Abu Bakr referred to them as belonging to the synagogue of Satan. They had shaven crowns. In Roman Catholic antiquity, novices who had just entered the order had their hair cut short with scissors. When the novice took his vows to become a monk, he received the tonsure. That is, either his entire head was shaven clean or the very top circle of his head was shaved, a round bald area on the crown of the head. Abu Bakr commanded the Saracens, the Arabs, to force these monks with shaved heads to either convert to Islam or pay taxes.
And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, And on their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men. And they had hair as the hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions. And they had breastplates, as it were breastplates of iron. And the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle.
Verse 5 mentions a torment that lasts 5 months. Numbers 14 verse 34 and Ezekiel 4 verse 6 states that when reckoning time prophecy, a day is a year. Hence in prophecy, 5 months, or 150 days, are 150 years. Revelation 9 verse 5 references a 150-year period wherein Roman territories would be besieged. For 150 years, Rome would be constantly attacked, but it would not be completely destroyed. More on this 150-year period when we get to verses 10 and 11. But suffices to say, the Bible describes this period in time as the torment of the scorpion. The sting of constant fighting would become unbearable, so much so that men would rather die. Verse 6. The savage Saracens domineered the Romans. They would give them a small amount of rest. That rest would be interrupted by another violent attack, as if by the sting of a scorpion. Verse 7 refers to the horses on which the Saracens rode. The Arabian horse, up unto this very day, is exceptionally well bred. The skill of horsemanship is the art and science of the Arab. They were mastering riding horses for a long time. The locusts, the Arab, or Saracen, were skilled riders in battle. The verse continues to describe the Arab warriors wearing crowns of gold. In 622, Mohammed entered Medina and was received as a prince. His turban was like a coronet, a small crown. The Arab warriors were anciently distinguished by their gold turbans, the mitres which they wore. Verse 7 also mentions that the Saracens had faces of men. Speaking of the faces of these warriors, Dr. Keith writes, "The gravity and firmness of the mind of the Arab is conspicuous in his outward demeanor. His only gesture is that of stroking his beard, the venerable symbol of manhood." The Arab's beard was to him a symbol of manhood and virility. Keith also mentions that the Saracen had a firmness of the mind, so much so it could be discerned in his facial features. Verse 8 states that Saracens or Arabs had long hair but teeth like lions. The historian, Pliny the Elder, records that the Arab were noted for wearing long uncut hair. The Arab warriors were not effeminate, as was the Romans when they got sacked by barbarians. The Saracens were fierce warriors. Their ferocity was depicted in their demeanor, as having teeth of lions. Verse 9. The Saracens wore iron breastplates or vests when they rode with Mohammed. March 23, 625 AD, in the Battle of Ohad, or Ulhad, Mohammed and his army pounced on Mecca with upwards of 700 men outfitted with iron vests. In verse 9, the Bible also refers to the sound of their wings. The Saracen army had many horses. Their army differed from the Greeks and the Romans in that it was mostly cavalry and archers. With a touch of the hand, the Arab horses darted away with the swiftness of the wind. The Saracen attack was swift, broad and effective.
They had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men 5 months. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. One woe is past, and behold, there come 2 woes more hereafter.
In verse 10, John reiterates the length of the Arabian torment of the Romans. 5 prophetic months or 150 prophetic days or 150 literal years. Recall that when dealing with prophecy, a prophetic day is a literal year. This day-year principle is outlined in Numbers 14 verse 34 and Ezekiel 4 verse 6. But, when will this 5-month torment begin? Verse 11 is key. The verse begins with the phrase, "And they had a king over them." After Mohammed's death, the Saracens had some structure under Abu Bakr, Mohammed's father-in-law. But from Abu Bakr's death until the 13th century, the Saracens were scattered into various factions and had no central government. Near the close of the 13th century, Osman founded a government known as the Ottoman Empire, extending over all the principal Mohammedan tribes, consolidating them into one grand, central, monarchy. More on Osman later. The king is described as the angel of the bottomless pit. The word translated here as angel is the Greek word angelos. Angelos means messenger. Note, the angels of God are also called ministering spirits, consult Hebrews chapter 1 verse 13 and 14. In this context, angelos by extension means minister. The king is the angel of the bottomless pit, making him a chief minister. Note the use of the definite article, the. Recall, out of the bottomless pit came the locusts, the Saracens, whose religion is Mohammedanism or Islam. Therefore, the angel is the chief minister of the religion of the locusts that ascends from the bottomless pit. The angel is the chief minister of Islam. The Sultan is the chief minister. He is called the Supreme Caliph, or High Priest, uniting in his person the highest spiritual dignity with the supreme secular authority. The Sultan is called a destroyer in both the Hebrew, the word Abaddon, and in the Greek, the word Apollyon. This is an apt description of the Ottoman Empire. The term Ottoman is related to the name of the founder of the empire, Osman I, Othman in Arabic. Little is known of the early beginnings of Osman I's early life. It is postulated that Osman's father, Ataturk, brought his tribe into Turkey fleeing the onslaught of the Mongols. Osman I, otherwise known as Othman, created the Ottoman Empire after his father's death. Edward Gibbon wrote, Othman first entered the territory of Nicomedia on the 27th day of July, 1299. Nicomedia was an ancient city in Turkey. Diocletian made Nicomedia the capital of the Roman Empire. But in 322 AD, Caesar Maximus, Constantine chose neighboring Byzantium to be the capital and renamed it Constantinople. In essence, what Gibbon is saying that Othman and his forces entered Greco-Rome on July 27, 1299. We now have a starting point for the 150-year prophecy, the aforementioned July 27, 1299. For the next 150 years, that is, from July 27, 1299 to 1449 AD, the Ottoman Empire engaged in perpetual warfare against Greco-Roman territories. In 1449 AD, a new era in history is about to begin. The fifth trumpet,